Today on The Real Fan Review, we get you ready for Hobbs and Shaw that's coming out this Thursday. Welcome to The Real Fan Review. What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hobbs here, one of your hosts from The Real Fan Review. And today, guys, we're going over the Hobbs and Shaw, pretty much just everything that's happened to those two characters. So we get you ready for the Hobbs and Shaw movie that's coming out this Thursday. Today with me, I got some great people here with me. I got my wife here today, Alex. How's it going, babe?
It's going.
You always wanted to be on the podcast. You're on the podcast.
Now I'm nervous.
Oh, man. So we got my wife, Alex, here today. And we also got our man in the chair, Al, here today.
What's going on, everybody?
And today, the reason why I have my wife here is she's a big fan of the Fast and Furious series.
I am. I
right?
love it.
I remember before one of the movies came out, I think you were homesick.
I was so sick, and I just watched
You
all
watched
of them.
like all of them, right? All in one day or 2
Yeah.
days there. So it's going to be good to get your take on there. And just to kind of like, we always do this with people that we bring onto the podcast for the first time. We ask them, what's your favorite 3 movies? Because it's something that shows the audience or shows people who are listening pretty much like a feel for who you are, what kind of movies you like. So if you had to pick 3 movies, what are the 3 movies? It doesn't have to be any kind of order. What are your favorite 3 movies?
Okay, so in no particular order. Schindler's List.
All right.
Very impactful. Step Brothers.
Of course.
Which I know the contrast, but that says a lot about who I am, right? I love like silly, funny, like comedies.
all the Will Ferrell stuff.
Yeah, I'm like his biggest fan. And then not to be stereotypical as like a girl, chick flick, but Sex in the City, the first one.
The first one?
I can watch that a million times.
Oh my goodness.
So that kind of summarizes.
I think those are the same top 3 as Al.
We do share a lot. We have a lot in common.
There you go.
Yeah.
And a lot of you guys don't know, but Al used to be Alex, and we used to call Al Alex all the time. And then my wife came into the picture. He's now Al.
I'm just Al.
He's just Al.
I am the new Alex.
Yeah, man. And guys, for tonight, we don't have Sanj. We don't have Brandon. We missed them tonight, but we'll definitely get them back for the Hobbs and Shaw review that we do next week. So they're definitely missed, man. We love hearing their takes, especially Sanjay and Brandon, man. They always have hot takes and something to say. So we'll get the podcast going for them. And so one of the first things I wanted to bring up today, especially Al, since you're here, man, Avengers Endgame actually is the all-time #1 grossing movie of all time now, finally, after like 8-9 weeks there,
and re-releasing the extra footage and all that. Yeah,
what do you think, man? I mean, is it well deserved or
definitely well deserved? I just think it took longer than everybody was expecting. The re-release, I think, was a definite attempt just to surpass the record. But otherwise, no, it was something I thought was going to happen. I'm just surprised that it took them this long to do it.
Yeah.
How much did they gross? How much?
I think it was at 2.7. Like, it just barely passed Avatar.
Yeah.
Avatar was #1 for all these. I think since 2009, Avatar has been the #1 grossing movie, and then I think Endgame passed it by 30 million. I think it was something like that. It isn't anything crazy. Watch Avatar re-release Avatar itself one more time before
like
the
31 million.
There you go.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, so I think honestly it's well deserved. I think it says a lot about the fan base for the Marvel universe and the Marvel cinematic characters there, because these guys have built this franchise over the last 11 years, and for what movie, the kind of movie that they gave us in Endgame, which was just all encompassing there with everything. It just, it brought back things from the first movies, the second movies of these characters. And it brought it all together, tied up a nice bow. So it's almost like, hey, you know what? Here's your award for doing all this. Here you go. You're the #1 best movie of all time. It's not the best movie of all time. The #1 grossing movie of all time there. I still think there's other movies that are better than that movie, but
that like touched you guys. Like,
oh my
like
God.
You were a different person for like the next 12 to 24 hours.
I think I cried to you about it a little
Yeah,
bit.
I was uncomfortable because I was like, I didn't know how to approach that.
Yeah, you asked me what happened at the end, and I couldn't even speak for a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay.
It was beautiful.
I know. I get it.
When you gonna go see
He
it?
didn't cry when we got married. He just wanted to stay quiet. Avengers did it. It's fine. It's absolutely okay.
Wow.
In his defense, in one of them, you guys had quite a few people there. He had to keep up his
It's fine.
image.
There we go.
His reputation was at
It's fine.
stake.
That's fine.
All right, so we're gonna just change the subject there.
Smart move. Smart move.
All right, so we got the news out of the way, and again, you guys are here for the Hobbs and Shaw prep to get you ready for the movie coming out. But before we just go right into Hobbs and Shaw and their characters there, just really quick, Alex, on your thoughts on Fast and Furious, because from where it started from, Fast and Furious, I've loved pretty much all the movies except for maybe Tokyo Drift, and also I wasn't a big fan of the sixth one. I think it was that I didn't like too much with Letty, them finding Letty.
Yeah.
But from where it started off as street characters that drove fast cars and modded their cars, and they were stealing DVD players,
Yeah, right? That's true.
to moving torpedoes with their hands, government workers now.
And racing away from a submarine.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you
Taking
say it that way, it does sound silly. But if you watch them,
They
Oh,
make
it's
it
all
make
believable.
sense.
Oh yeah,
yeah, you're like in it. Like you're.
it makes sense. Two cars can pull a whole vault behind it and not break, despite it slamming into cement
Doesn't
through
matter.
a building.
I don't know. If you, when you talk
Nitrous
about it, it
works.
sounds silly, but when you're watching it, you're like invest. At least
you're
for me,
caught
I
into
was,
it.
Absolutely.
I was in it. Like, I remember we went to see. Oh God, this is like a couple years ago. We went to see one, and I think we were like, oh my God, I want to say, I was sick, and we went to see it after I saw all of them. We went to see whatever had just come out.
I think at that time that was Fast and Furious 7.
And there were people after the movie that like were taking the turns in the parking
In
lot.
the parking garage.
Yeah, like people started like, and you hear like the cars, and I don't know.
It affects people for sure.
It does. I mean, it's silly. It's not Avengers, right? No one's gonna.
They might as well be.
No, it's not. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be in anybody's like favorite, impactful, like life-changing movies. But you're gonna have a good time. Like
It's a summer movie, right?
That's what it is. I think it's fun.
Yeah. How about you, Al? What you think about Fast and Furious, man? From where it started to where it is now.
I think I'm gonna agree with both of y'all. Like I enjoy every one of them, but it really like jumped the rails. I want to say at Fast 5 for me.
Right, Fast 5.
That's where it was like, all right, the whole premise of the movie, the way of the franchise when it started, they were a streetcar gang, and everything as long as it stood local could make sense. Once they started having them leave the country and they're doing, now they're working for a government, and I'm like, they were a streetcar gang.
Exactly.
Now you have other foreign governments knowing your name and wanting you to do like, come on.
But that can. I mean,
they went to
everybody
countries.
starts somewhere, right? It's not like Pablo Escobar planned to be an international, right? Like every bad guy starts small. And
The only funny part of 5 was when The Rock's character comes in and he's prepping his crew to chase them.
Right.
The funniest line was when he says, and by no means let them get into a car.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, like for me, the Fast and Furious series, I always remember watching the first one, and I used to be cool with this guy named Mark, and Mark was in our high school. He was younger than me. He was like 2 years younger than me, so he was in 10th grade when I was in 12th, and we went to go see the movie. It was a bunch of us, my brother, everybody we used to hang out with. Right, we go to the movie to see this movie, and after the movie ended, that movie had blown everybody's mind, and you see everyone racing their automatic cars, putting it on neutral and revving the engine, and then going to drive instead of like clutching.
Oh my god!
So it's just hilarious, and it always brings back memories because every time I watch those movies, I know when I'm leaving, I'm hearing cars screeching.
Yeah, that's what I was
in
telling
the
you.
parking
I remember
garages
that.
and
Like
everything.
it's fun,
It's hilarious, yeah. But we'll get you guys into now the Hobbs and Shaw, thing. And but really quick, do you think it's like just ridiculous or it's still cool?
I think that you need Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
I don't know, like he's like the glue, right? Like that whole, I mean, it's cliche, but like he's the whole about the family, and like now he's not there. I feel like he is missing.
He's missing from these next ones.
I feel like it's like a spin-off, and they should call it something else.
Okay. Well, they're trying to. They said this is the Fast and Furious presenting
Oh
Hobbs
yeah,
and
yeah,
Shaw
that's true.
now,
That's
so.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, in which case, yeah, that's fine.
But do you find like, are you okay with how crazy it's getting?
I think it's always been kind of crazy. I think I wasn't okay with him not being a part of it. I feel like that doesn't make it Fast and Furious to me anymore. It's like I have to walk in to that movie just expecting something different, because I love The Rock, right? In every other movie, I thoroughly enjoy him. But this, I don't know what it is about him and those one-liners. It drives me crazy.
Every movie he's in.
Roll my eye. I'm like, oh, here we go. So
He's
I can't
he's like
imagine.
today's Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
Yeah, it just. So I can't imagine this. I mean, I'm gonna walk in with an open mind. We'll see.
Okay, Al, man, for you, man, how you feel about the franchise? Is it really too far? Or you're cool with everything that they're doing so far?
The last one really kind of put it over. I thought they showed how far they're having to reach by making Vin Diesel's character Toretto the villain.
Right.
Granted, we knew there was going to be a twist and there was going to be a reason why he was doing what he was doing, but I feel like they're running out of stories.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. I think 10 is going to be the last one.
That's allegedly right now. Yeah. They said they're going to make this one, Hobbs and Shaw. 9 is coming out next year or the year after. I think it's next year, 9. And then they're making 10 as the last one, and after that, they're just going to be doing like kind of like the Hobbs and Shaw thing. They want to do like the girls' car, just the girls kind of doing their own story. So Letty, maybe Brian's girlfriend in the movie.
Oh, Mia.
Yeah,
and maybe some other characters having their own movie about the women driving their cars and doing something. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, man, I like I told you guys before, it's a summer fun flick.
Yeah.
I love it. I've watched every single one. I just recently watched almost all of them. I watched 5, 6, 7, and 8 for this podcast, and it just, as ridiculous as it is, they do make it make sense. They have a reason as to why they're doing these certain things, and it ends up being really cool and funny. And
as long as you give up that sense of reality and accept that all that can happen.
Is there any way that Vin Diesel would come back to the final ones, or like that's never gonna happen?
Definitely. Like he's already working on 9, so he's doing Fast 9. So what happened with Hobbs and Shaw? I don't know if you know, but Vin Diesel and The Rock don't get along. They actually had a falling out in that last one that they made. The Fast and Furious 8, was it?
No, Fate of the Furious.
Fate of the Furious?
Yeah.
They got into a big argument where it almost went to blows, and they haven't been cool since. So to kind of like make sure that he's still part of the franchise, they wanted him to make his own section of Fast and Furious.
So this new one that comes out Thursday is not part of the sequence. Is not.
It's kind of like it's like the Marvel movies, right? You'll have a movie that's like Ant-Man, right? Ant-Man has his own story, and then Ant-Man will join the Avengers.
Got it.
So Fast and Furious is the Avengers. This little Hobbs and Shaw is like the Ant-Man or the other movie there, yeah. So, all right. So we'll get into the Hobbs and Shaw stuff now. So what we'll do is we'll talk about Fast 5 real quick. And so Fast 5, just to get you guys up to date, what happened there with Hobbs, because that's who we're trying to concentrate on. Hobbs is a federal agent, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So he comes in to come get Dominic Toretto. He tries to come get Brian and Mia after finding out that they're in Brazil. And the reason that he's coming after them is because, one, they were part of looks like a bad or botched car heist that was set up by one of the characters from the first Fast and Furious. Or was it, I forgot which guy it was. But he was the one that fought Brian in the first one, saying that he was a cop. He kind of predicted that Brian was a cop in the first episode. I forgot his name, though. Vince, right? So he shows up in Fast 5, which was like a oh shit moment in the movie theater. And he puts them on a train heist to steal these cars, but the cars happen to be taken over from the DEA.
Yeah, they were seized property. Yeah.
Exactly. And in that heist, one of the guys that worked for the main bad guy of the story shoots the agents, and that's what brings Hobbs in. And then Hobbs comes out and he looks like a damn wrestler. And like, what cop looks like this? Like, what federal agent? Like,
I'm sure there's some, but yeah.
He walks in. He's like,
I know. That's where like insert the rolling of the eyes. I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. And then he starts with the one-liners and stay the fuck out of my way.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember much of Fast Five, the one in Brazil? Or?
Yes, because that's where that girl came in, right? And that was ended up being
she was from Brazil too.
Yes.
She was married.
She
to
was
some,
a cop in
yes,
Brazil.
Exactly. Yeah.
And she was working with The Rock, right?
Yeah. So the Hobbs.
She becomes the translator.
Yes.
Right. There we go.
And then she later on became the mother, right, of that baby.
Later on, when we get to that.
Elsa. Wait, you're talking about Elsa Pataki?
Is that her name?
The one that plays the translator that her husband was killed.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Elsa
the
Pataki.
one. So in that one there, man, Hobbs is trying his best to get Dom, and he has his team of guys also trying to find them and find the cars, and they're just missing them out by seconds or.
Oh, wait a second, and also isn't this where Mia, like, she's pregnant?
They find out.
They find out she's pregnant. Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. Now I remember. It's, like they were running. They were being chased together. I remember that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that was the first kid there. And so pretty much in that whole story with Hobbs, he tries to capture them. He actually gets them at one point. He finds that there was a tracking device on their car, so he kind of tricks them and he captures Dom, Brian, and Mia in one spot in the garage. As they're pulling away or they're leaving to go back to their base, they get ambushed by the bad guy of the story. I forgot the guy's name. The bad guy. It's not Braga, right? Braga was from 4. This is the guy who's from Brazil.
I can't find it. I'm looking too.
I can't remember the bad guy's name. But anyway, the main bad guy from Brazil, his team ambushes them to get Dom and to get Brian and all of them because they have the knowledge of where that device that they're looking for is.
What is that device? Do you remember what device? I'm trying to.
It was basically where all his cash houses were.
Yes.
So
and it was in a stereo.
Yeah, it was in a stereo.
Yeah.
So all he wanted was that, but he killed everyone. He killed Hobbs' team. He killed anyone that was in his way to get that device. So anyway, in that skirmish, in that ambush, Hobbs is almost taken out himself, and Dominic Toretto comes and saves the day like he does in every freaking Fast and Furious, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. That's like his role in all of them.
Yeah. And the main bad guy's name was Joaquin.
Joaquin.
There
we go. Joaquin from Brazil.
I do. I love that name.
So Hobbs gets saved by Dom, and then when he gets saved by Dom, he kind of respects Dom for saving him and going after the people who killed his team. And even Hobbs says, I want to kill that motherfucker, right? So so anyway, we get the whole freaking plot there of Dom's idea of stealing the money from the police precinct. And in the end, they stop Joaquin. They stop him. And Hobbs actually kills him at the end of the movie.
Oh, it's Reyes. Joaquin is the actor's real name.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Reyes. That sounds more familiar.
Yeah.
All right. So then at the end, Hobbs gives Dominic Toretto 24 hours, like almost like a
head start.
Yeah.
Like a head start, because he goes, I have to capture you, but since you helped me do this, go. Then we realized that Dominic's plan was to have all the money that was in the vault. They switched the vaults around.
Yes.
And Dominic Toretto and the team are gone.
Now, I haven't rewatched the movies, but was that something they always did in the movies? Why am I thinking that was something they always did? Like they showed you their twist at the end.
They do. Yeah.
They do that a
That
lot.
was something they did, right?
What sticks to my memory, and I
don't think they did that in Fate. I think they did do that.
Yeah, in Fate, the twist was that Deckard Shaw, which is Jason Statham's character, there was a scene where Toretto was with him in the street and he pretended to kill him.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's what I mean. I remember that.
So they always find a way to show you like a little twist or something you didn't see kind of thing. So, yeah, man. So, I mean, at the end of that movie of Fast 5, the one thing that we saw that kind of led to the next movie was, if you guys remember, Eva Mendes' character from Fast and Furious 2, which is one of the cool aspects of this movie is that they always bring back these characters from other movies that make it just all connected. So Eva Mendes' character comes to Hobbs with a folder that says, you need to see this. And in that letter was a picture of Letty. So we knew that Letty was alive.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what led us into the next movie, which is Fast and Furious 6. So with Fast 5 out the way for Hobbs, is there anything that like stands out to you, Al, about that movie, about Hobbs, or just he's just some big badass and that's it?
Basically, yeah.
Right.
That's the way they made him. Like, you could tell he was clean, not clean cut. I don't want to say clean cut, but he just was more with justice and truth.
Yeah.
To the point where that's why when he saw that they really weren't the ultimate bad guys he was, believing them to be, he gave them that head start.
Right.
Like, you saved my life, you did this, I'll give you that. You're still a criminal, and I have to do my job, but I'll make us even by letting you get a head start.
Yeah.
And wasn't there like a lot of comedy in 5?
Yeah, especially with those characters that you love.
I think they were hilarious.
Well, first of all, Tyrese is hilarious.
So funny. So funny. And what's his name?
So there's Tyrese, Ludacris,
Don Omar and
Don Omar, and Tego.
Yeah.
Tego Calderon.
Calderon.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Dude,
Didn't they have subtitles for them?
they had subtitles for Tego.
I love
I
it.
can never understand Theo, so that's
Me
I
neither.
need them
Like,
anyway.
I thought I could, and then when I read the subtitle, I'm like, that was useful. I could. Thank you.
Yeah, man. So that was that, man. That's the story of Fast 5. So we go into Fast and Furious 6 now. Now, if you guys don't remember, Fast and Furious 6 is when they're trying to find out what happened with Letty. How did they get to find her or whatever. So what happens is Hobbs is in a situation where he has to capture this character named Owen Shaw.
Yes.
So Owen Shaw is this ex-military badass that happens to be driving cars as fast and, if not, they said better than Dom's team, right? So he, Hobbs knows that the only people that probably can help him capture it is not going to be people that he works with. He assumes somehow that Dom's team is going to help him. And how he gets them to help them is he offers them full pardon so that they can come back home. That was one of the big deals, is that Brian and Mia wanted to, they love their home, they love their kid, and they love where they were. I think they were in the Dominican Republic or they were somewhere.
I think so too.
Right?
Yeah, I want to say DR.
And so he asked them, hey, how's everything? He goes, everything's great, but it's not home. So it kind of became the reason as to why they'll help,
Right.
why they'll help Hobbs is to hopefully get a full pardon and at the same time find Letty and bring her back to the team. So in this movie, man, they go to, I believe, is it Berlin that they go to? London. So they go to London. And in this movie, for Hobbs and Shaw themselves, for Hobbs, I didn't find there was a lot of development for him. He was just one of the guys on the team. It felt like Dominic Toretto was just the leader, and whatever his plan was, Hobbs was part of the plan of capturing these guys. And it was a really cool thing because it was like military people, you know what I mean?
Well, because at this point he's not the target.
Right.
There's another target, so it's like you have the ability to like join forces for like the greater good kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where in every other movie he was the bad guy, right?
Exactly right. They were going after each other. So in this one, it was more like they were just a team. And they were just working together. So there's nothing that like any real personal growth. The only thing that happened, I think, for Hobbs, for Rock's character, was he just gained more respect for them, I think.
Yeah, I can see that.
Instead of just seeing them as criminals that he got hooked up with, for help, now he respects them as their family, and he's part of that family now, and he kind of sees them that way too. But
now, quick question. Only because which is was it Fast 5 where at the end they show that Shaw was the one who killed?
No. It's in this one, actually.
Oh, it's at the end of this one?
Yeah, so what happens is because Owen Shaw is the brother of Deckard Shaw is Jason Statham's character.
Okay.
So because at the end of the movie, they capture him with that, I don't know if you guys remember that ridiculous airplane scene?
Yeah.
With the
where the runway never ended. That one, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. That's right. No. Okay.
Which I didn't understand this part. So Gal Gadot's character, I forgot her name in the movie there. So Giselle, she falls off the plane and she just disappears into darkness, and we assume she's dead, right? Because you see Han's reaction. Didn't the same thing happen to Owen Shaw at the end? Didn't he fall off the plane also, and he's alive and good to go?
Yeah, but he's like ex-military, like right. So somehow he can defy gravity. He can right. Poor thing, Giselle cannot.
Oh my God. And again, in regards to Hobbs and Shaw, like I said, there wasn't really any kind of character development for The Rock's character in this movie, except for we saw more of him as far as his comedy, his comedic effect on the team. And at the same time, we then meet Deckard Shaw at the end, like Al was just saying.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was, because Owen Shaw I assumed he was dead, right?
Right.
And the ending with his brother killing Han, I thought Owen was dead too. But what happens is Deckard Shaw goes to get revenge. And if you guys saw Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious Part 3, there's a scene in the movie where Han is driving the car in a race, or he's trying to get away from the Drift King, was it, right? And one of the characters, or in Tokyo Drift, it seemed as if a random car hit him.
Yeah. That's how they made it seem like, yeah.
Right. They made it seem like it was a random car that hit him and killed him. But in this movie, in Fast and Furious 6, the end credit scene was Deckard Shaw who hit him on purpose to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And
to
that's
draw
how,
out
yeah,
the team, Toretto and the rest of them.
And at the end of that, after he rammed Han's car to kill him, he's walking away, and you hear him calling Dominic Toretto, saying, "Dominic, you don't know who I am, but you will after this phone call."
Mm-hmm.
And then, I remember seeing that movie with you, and I remember the theater going, "Oh," because you know why? Jason Statham was known for all those driving movies. What was the movie that was called? The Transporter?
The Transporter.
He was known for that, and some other movies where he's like this guy from the UK that drives these cars and does it like almost like the Fast and Furious
It's
style.
a perfect connection then, right?
Right. So when you saw him as a part of this movie, you were like, "Oh shit!"
That makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of knew, oh, it's gonna go down Fast and Furious 7. It's definitely gonna go down to Furious 7 there. Now, I don't know if you guys remember much about Fast and Furious 6. Is there any personal takes on that movie that you like? Anything specific? Like the whole thing with Letty?
I was gonna say, like, that was to me was the biggest part is Letty, right? Because the whole thing is, I mean, I know they had like this greater good, but I think he was really in it for her,
Right?
right?
Yeah.
Like he was like, not that he was playing along, but he was focused on her. And then when he knew she was a part of, am I right?
Yeah, Dominic Toretto was. That's even though the main thing was to get the full pardons, he really just wanted to get Letty back. Yeah. So that was it, man. And Al, any things on Fast and Furious 6 for yourself? Do you remember watching it or anything particular about the movie?
Nah, just it was like one of those crazy, like you said, it was one of those crazy movies. It was when they really, I felt, started getting kind of crazy, especially with, like you said, that plane scene at the end, and but it was good. It still kept at that point. You still had the whole, for the most part, the whole team together.
Exactly.
I mean, I think this was when they had to. Was this the last one with Paul?
No, Furious. The next one is
Furious
Yeah,
7?
he was able to record, right, to tape 7.
Or he filmed most of
He
7.
Yeah.
I think the
Okay.
only thing he didn't film in 7 was there was a fight scene with this. Oh man, it's a character, it's an Asian character who does all this kickboxing. Something Jung, I think it is. Tony Jai or Tony Jung.
I don't see him.
He's in Fast and Furious 7. Anyway, he had like this big fight scene at the end. That fight scene, when I rewatched it this week, was the first time I noticed there's not one single shot of Brian's face.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
It's always like the side
Tony
angle.
Jaa.
Tony Jaa? Yeah, he's a big time like karate actor, man. It's just insane his like fighting skills. But that first time ever, because I always wondered like when did he die, because they said that it happened while he was filming. But he's pretty much in the whole damn movie, Brian.
But maybe they like.
He must have had only a few scenes left.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And plus, didn't I think his brother filled in for a couple.
That's what I was gonna say. His
Yeah.
brother filled in
Because
for
they had
him.
a similar structure, and obviously, I'm sure there's a good resemblance there. So
Yeah, I know he definitely helped out in that ending scene when they were by the beach at the
Yeah.
end.
Do you
And,
remember the whole movie? I had such anxiety because
Dude.
okay, I know I shouldn't say
Oh
this,
my
but
God.
and your brother was with us,
Yeah,
and he thought the same thing.
you guys are crazy.
So he passed away. I thought that they were going to incorporate his death into the movie.
and kill him off.
So yeah, so the whole movie, I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna happen.
Ow.
Oh my god,
Seriously?
it's gonna happen.
You cannot kill off a person.
No, I'll be honest. I was
Thank you.
when I
You
heard
guys are
he
heartless monsters.
Not
No,
heartless.
heartless.
not
I
heartless,
was
I
devastated.
I really thought that they were gonna have a crash, and
Me too.
that was gonna lead up to like.
You guys don't think that that's a little bit too close to real life?
No, because think about it. They
But if
killed
the-
one of their
yeah,
characters
okay.
off the previous movie.
Yeah, but I see what you're
In-
saying
in
because he died
Tokyo.
in real
But
life.
he
in a
died in
car.
real life of a car crash. You think they're gonna do it
No,
in a
no, I
movie to be
see.
like, oh,
No, they won't play it out. I didn't think they were gonna play out the scene.
Me too. I thought that when they were just gonna drive off. I don't know what
I just
now that you say
The
that.
whole movie. But you know, it's funny because she wasn't the only one gasping every time something happened to Brian.
no, you know what? No, the reason why I thought they were gonna kill him off, and yes, it would be a little morbid to have a death scene for him in the movie.
Yeah,
But you knew they weren't ending at 7.
right.
You knew
right.
this
Right,
was
so
going to
there
be a
had to-
franchise
he
going
had
on.
to have some
So how do you
closure.
write him off that he's just somewhere else and he's not helping them anymore? No, you can say because it's like they say even up until then and even after it's family. Everything's family. So how is he all of a sudden and now
Not-
him and the
not
sister
there.
just not helping anymore?
They made an agreement not to include him anymore.
No, it was done. It was done respectfully. It was done beautifully.
That's how they were supposed to
Of
do
course,
it.
but I'm not a direct. I was sitting there like just, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, you know.
Yeah.
But the way they did it definitely is better. Thank God I'm not the one writing the movie. But
Yeah.
Because you would have been like, oh, I have to kill him now.
so it was done. It was done great. Like that part was like,
Yeah.
that was touching. Remember the song?
Oh my God, please! I can't listen
But it
to
was
that
a little.
again.
I mean, I'm sorry. The first time I saw it, I thought it was
You
good.
thought it was gonna.
Afterwards, every time I see it, I'm like, damn, that's it's a little. No disrespect, whatever. It was a little cheesy and like over the top.
Oh, I thought it was beautiful.
But
Oh,
the
bring it.
sunset.
But it was a good way.
I loved it.
Him holding his kid in the water.
Beautiful, beautiful, like yeah, beautiful, touching. I'm in.
Oh my God.
but it was definitely. I just thought because like even now you don't like you just from a story point of view, how is he not helping them?
yeah,
Their lives are on the line. I mean,
Because think
all
about
this-
it,
brought
it goes
it up.
back to the whole idea of family, right? So now they
Right.
have children, and that's Toretto's like nephews, and so now he's, it's smart if you think about it, because he's like, no, this is family. You got to take care of your family.
right.
Yeah, but Toretto has a kid and he's doing all this stuff. You don't think he would be like, yo?
But he didn't know he had a kid. Oh, you mean like for in the future?
Yeah.
Then that defies me. I don't know. but he's looking out for Mia,
That's true.
right? Like
Yeah,
he-
because
you know.
look, even though we'll just skip real quick Furious 7 for a
Yeah,
second,
yeah.
right? So what ends up happening? There's a scene in the movie where they're talking to Letty like, "How are we gonna stop Dom? He's the best of all of us."
Yeah.
And Therese goes, "We got to call Brian," and she goes, "No, we promised we weren't gonna call Brian." And that's how they just mentioned it really quick to get it out the way so people could be like, well, you would get Brian. So, that's all done there. So they did take care of it there. But let's get into Furious 7 now, because this is where we actually get to see the characters of Hobbs and Shaw really throw down and meet for the first time. So Furious 7, we get introduced to the things that we didn't see in the end of Fast and Furious 6. So what happens is Owen Shaw is alive. He's at a hospital being watched by, I guess, a bunch of cops and military there. And I guess to kind of show you or to insinuate how crazy Deckard Shaw is, Jason Statham's character, they show him first just saying to his brother, "I'm going to get whoever did this to you. You just rest up." And as they pan out from him, it's just massive destruction. The hospital's a wreck. There's cops and military people all over the floor. I think he pulls a grenade from somebody and throws it at a security guard.
Yeah.
It was
Absurd,
it
right?
it's just absurd and crazy, right? So I guess they were just trying to basically say, hey, this guy is a badass. You know what I mean? So, that was his whole thing, was he's going to set up this whole plot of vengeance to get Dominic Toretto's team for doing what they did to Owen.
It was like God's eye.
That was the main thing,
Right,
of
that's
this
what
movie.
they were, yeah.
So what ends up now happening is after he leaves the hospital, we see him start to set up these things. He goes to Hobbs. I don't know is Hobbs. Hobbs is a federal agent, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess he's in his office with the girl from Brazil. They're in the office together, just doing regular, like, I guess, computer work, talking about the people he's captured and all this stuff. And he walks. What was her name? Elena,
Yeah.
the Brazil girl.
Yeah, Elena.
Elena?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So he walks Elena out, and then as he walks back in, he sees or he hears someone typing on his computer, and he looks into the office and he goes, I forgot what he said. Something about like if you're on my desk computer, son, you need to step off or something. You know his stupid one-liners.
Yeah.
And it ends up being Owen Shaw is in his computer looking up all the characters. He's looking up Han, Dominic Toretto to try to find where they are and how to get to them. Mm-hmm. So because they got their pardons, they're back at their home in California. So he goes after Han first. And that's where we find out that he kills Han.
Yeah.
He ends up, and when he makes that phone call to Dominic Toretto, he actually had sent a bomb to their house.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, I'm like, oh my God, it's coming back to me.
He calls Dominic, and Dominic picks up. He goes, "Who is this?" He goes, "Don't worry, you don't know me now, but you will."
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, the bomb explodes, and the house goes into flames. Everything's destroyed. Brian barely like makes it on that one because he I think he was putting his son in a minivan. And the minivan, he closed the door right on time before that the explosion kind of hit the kid in the minivan there. So that made Dominic lose it kind of thing. Now he knows he have to go get this guy before he does something else because he's going after them. They said that, oh, we're being hunted now. So of course the team gets together. And I don't know, do you guys remember much about Furious 7 or...
Now that you're saying it, it's coming back to me because I feel like that's what motivated Brian to get involved, right? Because it almost like he was like done with this stuff, and then when the attack happened, am I right?
Yeah,
that's what motivated him to get involved. Now it's coming back to me.
Now, do you guys remember the fight scene that Hobbs and Shaw had?
Yes.
That one was pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were going blow to blow. I think The Rock did the rock bottom on Jason Statham there. Do you know what the rock bottom is, Boobs? Yes. Oh, by the way, I call my wife Boobs. I just randomly do it every once in a while. So I know that everybody's like, what? Did he just say Boobs for no reason?
He did.
And I remember Ronda Rousey was in this movie as well. And
right.
She
was in the Dubai scene with Letty.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Oh yeah,
this movie was crazy.
Dubai
it went all over the place.
Was insane.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. They like hop a building in midair with a car. Now that I say that out loud, it sounds so ridiculous, right? But when you're watching, you're like, whoa, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I found ridiculous about the movie. Have you ever seen Winter Soldier with the Marvel movies? Not really a thing, right?
No,
it's okay. I'll probably get the reference then. Al, do you remember the Winter Soldier? And you remember how the movie played out where it's like Captain America would be somewhere and he's doing whatever he has to do, and then all of a sudden the Winter Soldier will show up and fuck up everything, right? Yep. Shaw played that role in this movie. Every time Dominic Toretto was somewhere or Hobbs was out of the movie because after that fight he was in the hospital, so he was done. But everywhere that Dominic and the team went, Shaw would show up and destroy and mess things up or put a hamper on things to make it harder for them to do whatever they have to do. So, I mean, in this movie with Shaw, you pretty much got just his whole destructive nature, how crazy.
Like how powerful he was, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, he was unstoppable at certain points. And it just sucked because it felt like Hobbs was in the hospital the entire movie. And then to kind of like put it together with Hobbs and Shaw again, we don't see Hobbs in the movie until the end where he's in the hospital bed. He sees the explosions happening outside of his window of what's going on in L.A. because they brought Shaw to L.A. to come get him because they, like you said, they had the God's eye. They had that little device that they were trying to capture.
That could track anybody down. Yeah.
Right. So they were bringing them to their hometown, quote unquote, of L.A. And speaking of ridiculous, so Hobbs gets out of the hospital bed and he has a cast on his arm.
Oh,
he just breaks the cast and his arm is healed.
He just makes a muscle.
See what I mean?
So wait, let me ask you this real quick. What is your take on The Rock? Do you like his character?
I do in certain movies. I feel like I mean, I guess that's part of the role. He has to play up like his size and how big, But like when it's bigger than that, when the movie's just not all about that, I actually do like The Rock.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he could be funny, but I feel like in this movie or in these movies, it's like a little corny.
Yeah.
All
right. So if you want to get a little corny, here we go. So to continue with Hobbs and Shaw, their characters there. So like I said, Hobbs leaves the hospital. He breaks his arm out of the cast by making a muscle.
I can't even pretend to not roll my eyes. Like, no one could see me, but I had to.
And then he disappears. We don't see where he goes, and ends up the team of Dominic Toretto's team is like trying to get this girl. What was her name? Shoot, she was Ramsey. That was her name.
Oh yeah, the computer whiz.
Yeah. So Ramsey, they're moving Ramsey in different cars so that they don't attack her.
Yeah.
And there's a helicopter that's going after them. So
yes.
as they're trying to get away, they're almost caught, and then here comes The Rock with, it was like a rattling gun almost that he took from the helicopter for somewhere.
Just starts shooting.
And just starts shooting at the helicopter, bringing it down.
I mean, I was grateful for him then.
And in the meantime, Owen Shaw is fighting Dominic with like one of the biggest wrenches I've ever seen in my life. I mean, is that wrench real? Is that like a real wrench?
And where do you get that?
I don't know.
Like, how does that just like,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, they got it at Home Depot.
Home Depot. Oh, Lowe's.
So they had their street fight because they didn't want to use guns or kill each other. They had to have a street fight for respect.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, rolling your eyes again.
I mean, I do appreciate that. You know, I'm not a big advocate of guns, but
But Dominic, of course, the superhero of the Fast and Furious, beats Owen Shaw.
of course he does.
Takes down the helicopter with his car.
Yeah.
As we say it, it gets even more ridiculous.
I know when you say, but when you're watching it, it
it's
doesn't.
like believable.
It's completely believable.
So in the end, Hobbs ends up bringing Owen Shaw to a black site to put him into jail. You know, Owen says to him, "You think this is gonna keep me? There's no way this place can hold me." And Hobbs kind of like tells him he wishes he gets out. You know, kind of hoping he
Do you
gets out.
imagine being that powerful though?
What? As
Like that you can be like locked up in like a maximum security prison, and you're like inside, you're laughing. You're like, yeah, okay,
yeah,
this can't hold me.
That's a whole nother level of
Oh
cockiness.
my god.
And Hobbs tells him he'll be waiting for him. And that's where we end up with Hobbs and Shaw. But like throughout that movie, man, like I said, they kind of kept them separate. But you saw that big fight in the beginning, and then you saw him bring him in. And just the way they were talking to each other, it was just...
Well, they stand for two different things, right? Mm-hmm. Like one is like you said, one is all about like law and order, and one is like, yeah, screw law and order.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that makes sense.
And it's going to be interesting to see how they bring that on into this movie here, where they have to work together all of a sudden, right? Yeah. But how do we get them to work together? We get to the last movie in the Fast and Furious series, The Fate and the Furious, which is Fast and Furious 8. And, you know, just really quick with the Fast and Furious 8, man, I have to say, when I watched that over again, it was pretty damn enjoyable, man. I mean, I wasn't too crazy about the whole Dominic Toretto being the bad guy, but you kind of understood what happened.
Oh, that was great.
I remember my wife almost crying when she saw Dominic Toretto's child.
Well, because when we watched that together, we had a son. I mean, we have two now, but at the time, our oldest son was the same age as that baby. So when they were like threatening to hurt the baby, right? Like the mother in me was like, right? Like it's just like, whoa, too far, you know? And I don't even think you have to be a parent to care, but I mean, anybody. But I think we related to that because we had a baby that same age. So yeah, that was crazy.
That was crazy. And man, anything from Fate of the Furious that you kind of remember or really liked about in that movie?
I mean, the chase scene. I like the scene where I forget where they were. I forgot what, but they were. It was in they all basically had shut down Toretto and were blocking him from.
That was when they were in New York.
Yeah, it was a little. That's right. Yeah, but it was a little bit of a reach the way he was able to get away. Again, everything in this movie became a reach at this point. But like, I guess I just felt for them in the fact that they were staring down their close friend, family, like, you know, in their mind, family member and everything, and having to decide, okay, how far do we take this in order to stop them? Like at some point, you got to think that's going through your head.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we have to stop because they don't know that he's playing an angle or being forced to do this.
But I feel like they kind of knew something. Like they knew there was an underlying...
Letty wouldn't give up.
Yeah, so there's something going on.
But how far, if he's taking it where he, you know, as far as he's taking it, how far do we go? Like,
right.
Do we go past him or do we, because how far do we know he's going to go?
Right.
So, I just thought that was interesting.
That movie was pretty good, man. I enjoyed it, man.
And the submarine scene will never leave my mind because I just thought that was
it was just beyond ridiculous.
I thought Charlize Theron was great.
She did. But I think she was great because she affected you.
She did. I was like, this bitch is crazy. Like, she took it so far. Like she was evil. Like I started to like hate her character. I was like, ugh. I thought she was great
because she killed Elsa Pataki, right?
She did. Yeah. Well, not her. Her henchman did it.
But she had her.
Yeah, because she told him like you almost let, and it was crazy because he was like you almost let her get away, because Letty stopped him and took. He was looking for the nuclear codes from a Russian government official.
Yeah.
And Letty took the suitcase away from Dominic, and she told him, "You're not going to do anything to me because you love me. No matter what you're doing or what's going on, you're not going to shoot me, right?" And he let her go away because he's not going to shoot her, you know? And it just so happened that her henchman was around the thing. Now, the henchman stopped her and took the codes away. But she still felt like she had to teach him a lesson to say you should never even think about it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, ruthless.
She was ruthless, man.
Like, her character, she played that very well.
I put money on this. Cypher will be part of Dominic's team, maybe in Fast and Furious 9 or 10.
I could see that.
It is so ridiculous because Owen Shaw,
for pure necessity,
killed Han, and now he's part of their team, which we'll get into now. But it's just crazy. Like even like Hobbs was after them, and now he's part of the team.
Yeah, but this is different. Like, you know, she killed like the kid, like the kid's mom. Yeah. Like that's.
I just have a feeling she's gonna end up being part of the team somehow.
I mean, you seem very confident. I don't know if
you know
I'm personally that confident.
She said something in the movie that I didn't realize the first time I watched it. I only realized it because I watched it again. Was she was saying the reason why she was stealing these nuclear codes and all these things that she was stealing from the government is because she wanted to be a check on all these governments. So basically, she's trying to stop governments from acting up and treating other countries bad. So there's a goodness in there, in that viciousness. I didn't notice that. Yeah, I didn't hear it either until I saw this movie this time. She was just like, she wanted to be a check on all these nuclear governments, that she can set off a bomb and she'll control all of them. You know, so.
Well, she's still setting off the bomb. It's not like she's preventing the bomb from going off.
Then who becomes her check on top of that?
Nah, that's what hopefully we'll see, right? Yeah. But let's get into the Fate and the Furious with Hobbs and Shaw. So when this movie, we get introduced into Hobbs in the beginning of the movie. He's given this like big speech and he's being forceful in his speech, and it ends up being a speech for his daughter's soccer team.
How cute.
The Dragons.
Yeah.
And he had them do it's because they called the haka. It's the warrior dance for the Samoans.
Oh.
Is it called the haka? I think it's called the haka. I'm not sure.
See, that part of him, I love.
Right.
Like he's had another movie. Remember, he was like a football player, and his daughter, he didn't know he had a daughter.
Was it the Tooth Fairy?
Something like that. It was this cute little girl, and she ended up being his daughter, and he didn't know he had a daughter, and then she kind of just like left him with her. Do you remember this? Am I making this up?
With the curly hair.
Yes.
Where the girl had the curly hair.
And it was very endearing.
Right.
Like that part of him I love. Like this big tough guy, but then like when it comes to like a little girl, there's like so much sweetness to him, you know? So that part I thought was really cute.
So yeah, we get introduced to him, and now, you know, we see his daughter, and then while the soccer match is going on, one of these government officials come up to him and tell him, "We need you." And he's trying to like disregard him and not pay him any money. He goes, "The only thing that's important to me is my daughter's soccer game." Oh. He goes, "So shut up with your bullshit and start cheering for the Dragons."
I love it.
And it's just awesome. But what he wanted him to do was to steal an EMP, or to get an EMP away from, I guess we now know is Cypher's team, or Cypher's the bad guy of this movie. Her goal is to get these different parts to create this device that she wants to make to stop all these governments from using nuclear weapons. So he gets Dom and he tells him, "We need you to get a team." He goes, "Oh, I got a team." And then you can just assume that the team that he's getting is going to be Dominic Toretto's team and all of them. So they end up getting him that help. But what he didn't know was that Dominic had already been reached by Cypher. In the beginning of the movie, Dominic Toretto is in Cuba, if I remember correctly.
That's how they justified him not being involved?
Right. So he was in Cuba. And then what happened is Cypher tells him, she gives him a phone. All of us don't know what's on the phone until later.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
That makes him be a part of this deal. Excuse me. And so what ended up happening is that's Dominic's in to do this I guess backstab on the team.
Yes.
So he gets the EMP, and they have the EMP in Hobbs' van or truck. And after they're leaving the heist that they just did, they didn't show us the heist. They just showed them leaving the heist.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic just follows Hobbs, and he tells everybody, all right, we'll meet back where we're going to meet. And then all of a sudden, Dominic goes right up to Hobbs' door, and Hobbs goes, hey, brother, great job. And Dominic rams his car off the road. And that's when we see Dominic did the twist there. Mm-hmm. So Dom takes the EMP from Hobbs. And, Hobbs tell him, if you do this, man, I'm coming after you and all this stuff like that. And that's when Hobbs gets caught because they were in Berlin. They were out of the country. So I guess the people from Berlin, that government took Hobbs
and put him in jail.
And put him into jail. They happen to bring him to a black site somewhere. What black site they bring him to is the black site that Owen Shaw is in. So here we are. They're bringing him in, and then next door to his cell, of course, is Owen Shaw, and they see each other, and they start talking to each other, talking shit. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny when they're talking shit. They're saying such crazy nonsense about what they're gonna do, and it's just so ridiculous. And
but enjoyable, right?
It's enjoyable for us, of course, but it's just so ridiculous that I'm gonna kick your teeth so far down your ass. No, I'm gonna kick your teeth so far down you're gonna have to brush your teeth through your ass. It's just so ridiculous and hilarious, man. So listen, so in that scene alone, you still see that they have this animosity towards each other there. And I guess Mr. Nobody, if you guys remember who Mr. Nobody is, he's the government agent that got the team to help out in the previous movie.
Yeah, he's an intelligence operative.
He tells Dominic Toretto, not Dominic, sorry. He tells Hobbs, I'm going to get you out, and Hobbs refuses. Hobbs like, no, I don't want your help to get out. I'm going to get out on my own. I'm going to get out the right way, which goes back to what you're saying, Alex, which is that, he's a good person, he's a good character, and he doesn't want to do anything that's against the law, whatever the case may be. So he refuses the help, but at the same time, Mr. Nobody still does it. He still sends the help. What he does is he shorts out his door to his cell. So his door opens up, and Hobbs is like, I'm not coming out. And as he's like stalling to get out of the jail cell, what are the corrections officers, are they called? The people, the guys in the jail?
Yeah.
So the correction officers all come up to Hobbs's door with these like electrical batons, and they're ready to go get him. And he's like, nope, I'm not leaving. We're staying here. And then Shaw on the other side grabs one of the batons or grabs one of the guys and takes the baton to his door and shortens his door to open up. And when his door opens up and he tries to run off, Hobbs is like, oh, hell no.
Right.
And then he goes after him. And I don't know if you guys remember the prison scene where they're fighting through all these different people to get to the end door, but their fighting was just so ridiculous.
Their
and so
fighting is
crazy.
what makes me want to see this one.
Yeah.
Right?
And then, the whole reason for Hobbs to even leave the jail cell was to make sure he could kick his ass. Right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the main purpose.
And they get out of the jail. And they're outside of the jail, and they're ready to throw blows with each other. And Mr. Nobody comes in and goes, hey, took you guys long enough. And he brings them in. So now when they kind of cut to black on this one, and they show up all of a sudden at Mr. Nobody's headquarters, which is somewhere they're not listed, right? And this is when they find out about Dominic working with Cypher. So Dominic's team, which is Letty, all the guys, all the characters from Fast and Furious that we love, they're all there except for Brian and Mia. And Hobbs is there, and they're trying to say how they're going to find them or how they can try to find them, and they can't. And they said there's one guy who can help you find him who's ex-British military.
Right.
Bring in Owen Shaw, and they all lose it. They're like, oh, hell no, we're not working with him and this and that. And then sure enough, I think this is the scene where Dominic Toretto and Cypher both show up, and they kind of fuck things up in the office, and they realize they do have to work with each other.
Yep.
And that's when they find out that I guess they have to head to New York to go get this next part, which is that nuclear football.
And remember, is in New York, like even Shaw's mom. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, and like, and then they show you later on how even like that was part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Who's
good.
Shaw's mom? It was
Magdalene is her name.
but who's the actress? She's like a popular actress,
Yes.
right? She's like an old school actress, but she's very popular.
And
I want to
she's-
say Judi Dench, but I don't think that's real. If that's right, I'm patting
Hold
myself
on.
on the back.
Let me see if you're right, because you I just remember like with they had like the hood open and
Yeah.
remember.
Absolutely, because he was trying to find a way to get out of this thing with Cypher.
Mr. Nobody Ramsey. I don't know where. Well, they even, I'm sure they have her. I can't find her.
No, either way, it's fine.
Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren.
What did you
Ah,
say?
I said Judi Dench. I don't even know who that
I was
is.
gonna say, who's that?
I don't. I hope she's like a real actress.
Judi Dench.
Yeah, is she even a real
Probably
actress?
like his like first grade teacher or something. Judi Dench. I'm gonna look it up.
Yes. Oh, she played M in the
Oh, they're
James
kind of like
Bond
a similar
movies.
character, yeah. Anyway, man.
Oh yeah. No, but that's like a good like. I would get that confused too.
So while they're in New York, and like Alex was saying just now that Dominic Toretto came up with this plan to kind of get some help in the situation. He lifts up his hood and he's kind of blocking cameras.
Yeah.
And he gets the mom to kind of help out. And what we didn't know is that he had a plan to find out where Owen Shaw was. And not Owen. Yeah, Owen, because Owen was at a black site that they didn't know where he was. So by him knowing where he was, it was an opportunity for Deckard Shaw, which is Jason Statham's character, to go find him and break him out of jail. So that was the deal that they made. But while they're doing that, Hobbs is in the shop in New York with all these cars that they find and all these crazy cars, these $1 million cars that they confiscated from drug deals.
Yeah, they like take your pick. Remember that?
Oh yeah, forget it. And Tyrese was losing it because there was an orange Lamborghini.
Yeah.
He goes,
yeah,
"Are you
like-
Black Santa?"
I love that. He's like so funny.
Yo, he's hilarious. I can't believe he doesn't get any other acting roles anywhere else. It's like he's just only in Fast and Furious.
He messes it up for himself though because he talks too much.
Talks a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like an issue with him talking on social media?
Well,
and
because
like
he
The
got-
Rock
happened
got
with his
involved?
baby mother or his
Well,
wife?
yeah, he was having that, but he also was having issue with Rock as well because he got upset that Rock was getting his own
and he pushed
spinoff.
Because of this spinoff, Fast and Furious 9 got pushed back a year.
Yeah.
So he was like, "Oh, you're messing my money now."
Yeah.
So it's just nonsense.
crazy.
It's big dumb drama.
You know what it is? Ego, like a mother. At
Yeah.
Oh
heart,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
He has a point, but because
It's how you present.
I can
that
understand
point, though.
Tyrese's point. Tyrese's point, basically, what from the way I took it was, up until Fast and Furious 7, which was the last one at that point, the movie was always about the crew.
Right.
Not Toretto. The Rock's
Rock.
character came in at 5, and not even until 7 or 8 maybe was part of like, the crew. How do you now have him have a spinoff under the guise of Fast and Furious?
You know what happened, man? It's because like
and
Rock,
you don't have the rest of the minute.
But was the intention from the beginning not to have them in it?
I don't believe so. But what ended up happening was when The Rock came into the franchise in Fast 5, that is the most money they made at that moment.
Well, then you have to accept that.
Because of The Rock, because of his character and because of himself. Rock
Right.
was famous before the movies. You know what I mean? He was always The Rock.
You kind of have to accept that you need each other, right? That
Right.
the Rock shined in that franchise, and the franchise shined because of the
he
Rock.
was in there helping, yeah. So The Rock was in 5, 6, 7, and these movies are making like double what they were making before 4, 3, and 2, and 1. And they just said, you know what? It'd be nice to have these two characters.
But what's interesting to see now is to see if in fact the perfect recipe is both, right? Like now we're gonna see if this movie does well because from what I'm reading, it's not supposed to do as well.
Right.
So it's interesting to see like they're trying to say like, oh, I'm important, no, I'm important, and like not to be like a teacher in me, but like maybe you're both important, right?
Oh,
like
God.
I know, but it's true. Like,
but the problem is, and this is where that argument is gonna make it look like The Rock won, is because everybody who's a Fast and Furious fan is gonna go see it just to see it, to see.
You're
okay,
right.
How was it?
You're right.
So it's gonna do as good as the last movie.
You don't think there's
So
going to be some
it's gonna-
people who are like die hard?
Plus those
and who are gonna
that
be like,
are
if he's not
rock
in it,
fans.
it's not the Fast and the Furious. You don't
There
think
might
so?
be some people, but because it's the Fast and Furious, they're gonna go see it.
And that was Tyrese's argument, was how are you giving him a spinoff before you gave any of the main characters a spinoff?
Yeah.
It's The Rock, man.
No, you and I know that, but like that's
Right,
why
but
he
don't-
was bitching.
But don't
You
call
know.
it. I see.
Then don't call it a Fast and Furious movie.
But then that makes me believe that from the very beginning they weren't supposed to be included, right? Because
Oh, yeah.
otherwise, why would you be so angry? Because of the spinoff or because you weren't included?
What the one? I think the big deal was they were supposed to make Fast and Furious 9, and I guess like I said, Tyrese is not really getting a lot of opportunities for movies right now, right? He's
No.
getting like little side things. He does his movies. He does his music,
Yeah.
but he's not getting any kind
Even
of
But
with
like.
it's
that, he's
crazy
not
because
doing
he's
much.
talented.
Yeah.
Like you ever heard him sing? Remember, like
Yeah.
when we were
Oh, yeah.
younger, he had that.
The Coke commercial put him on the map.
and he had like that
everything, yeah.
song where it was like raining in the living room. Remember that? Am I making that up?
No, yeah, you're definitely not making it up.
There was
but
like
I
a
can't
video
remember
where
the-
there was like legit rain, like he was taking a shower in the living room. It was like weird. What was
funny. That's the one you
it?
remember.
You know, that's
Yeah.
interesting, right?
Yeah.
How my memory works
Says a
that
lot.
way.
Says a lot. Says a lot.
So, but I remember.
Not singing that he was taking a shower in
Yeah.
the living room.
I mean,
Real nice. Good conversation
But-
for after the podcast.
sorry, it wasn't a real shower, guys.
It's all good. All right.
drizzling.
Let's
Okay.
get back to the Hobbs and Shaw people here. So Hobbs now, while they're in New York, Hobbs is talking to Shaw. I guess they're trying to like just work things out because they still don't like each other. And Hobbs ends up finding a letter of recommendation or some kind of like high accolades for the British military for Hobbs for either saving or rescuing a team of soldiers. So Hobbs is kind of confused by this. He goes, for someone who acts like you and, talks like you saved soldiers. And Hobbs tells him, he goes, and you also ran away from the police too. He goes, so he's kind of putting it on him like you're a federal agent, but you also have done things that look bad, but they're really not. So I guess he's
That's
trying to say that,
insightful.
right? So I guess he's trying to say he's not this bad guy that everyone's making him out to be. but
Yeah,
at
or
the
there's
same
more to the
time-
story kind of thing.
Yeah, more to the story than just him being this horrific bad guy who killed
Yeah.
Han. So, he in that little moment right there with that letter, that conversation they had, and they still talk shit to each other, what they're going to do when they get to fight each other. They still,
Yeah, but I feel like that must have shifted things a little bit.
they looked at each other and they started laughing. So right then and there, you knew that they kind of felt like a little bit of respect for each other, right? So then that's when they go after Dominic in New York. And we didn't know, but we all kind of assumed that Dom didn't kill Deckard Shaw.
Yeah.
But they showed, that he stops Toretto from running, and Toretto turns around and shoots Deckard Shaw, quote
Right.
unquote. Right? So we think that Deckard is dead because even after the scene is done, they go, "Hey, where's Shaw?" He goes like, "He's dead." He
Right.
didn't make it. So we kind of assume that Deckard is dead at that point. So now Hobbs and the rest of the team are trying to figure out what to do next, and they find out that they're going to Russia for this submarine to get the nuclear weapons from the submarine.
Remember, Tyrese was hilarious. He's like about like the snow. Remember, he's like cold.
He's like, I looked in my pants, I didn't recognize myself.
Hilarious. It's so funny.
Anyway, man. So then they go through that mission to stop the submarine from taking off and that nuclear weapon from going off, and they
Yeah.
end up stopping the nuclear weapon, but Cypher still ends up controlling the submarine, throwing torpedoes. And I again, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen is there's a torpedo on the ice, and the Rock gets out of the car and pushes it with his hand into another car. Are you kidding me?
But
He nudged it.
I have there's no words, right? Because I want to say something, but I feel like that just is the logical next step from all the other ridiculous things that he's done. And in the moment, I was with you. You didn't think it was ridiculous. You think it's ridiculous now, but when you watched it, you were just like following along.
Shit.
Yeah, you're like, what? You know what I mean? Like,
People were definitely losing in our theater that day.
yeah.
What? Oh. And then we get one of the biggest scenes in the movie because again we were made to believe that Deckard Shaw passed away or died to Dominic Toretto. We see these two manned planes, not planes, but like jetpacks flying in the sky, and they find Cypher's plane and they land inside Cypher's plane. They take the helmets off. It's Owen and Deckard Shaw together in the plane to rescue Dominic's baby. which was kind of awesome. Everybody started clapping and losing their mind.
I lost it.
And you know what? Again, not since like the Marvel movies have I seen this kind of like connectivity and like these actors reprising their roles constantly. And it just, again, it makes it just like this believable franchise, right? Because if in most franchises, by the time they get to the fourth or fifth one, they change the actor or whatever.
Yes.
In these movies, they keep these actors, like Vince showing up in Fast 5, Owen Shaw coming back in 8, to help out, and it's just so cool to see these characters. And so those two characters get on the plane and they go after Cypher and they go after the baby. And sure enough, we get this scene where Owen Shaw finds the baby. He puts like, I guess these soundproof headphones on him.
So cute.
And he's talking to him. He's killing people around him. And the kid's listening to Alvin, Simon, and Theodore.
It was so cute. That little cute smile.
Yeah, man. It was just so crazy.
But I'm glad they did something like that, because up until then, what was bothering me was that they weren't going to get payback for Han.
Right.
That was my concern. You know what I'm saying? Like, Shaw went and got payback by killing Han.
Right.
And now the main guys of the movie, they're not going to get their retribution, which is one of the main things they wanted.
Right.
So him going after the son, rescuing the son, risking his life to get his son.
Like,
I was like, all right,
yeah. Like payback, like we're good now.
Yeah,
because
I know I would forgive almost anybody if I saw that they risked their lives to get me my kid back. Like,
exactly, and that's exactly what they said at the end, because Owen was like, "How'd you know that I was gonna do it for you?" And he goes, "When I talked to your mother, and I saw your face when you knew Cypher was involved, I knew you hated her as much as I did." So he kind of like he winged it, but he was right. Dominic guessed right that Owen would help.
It's also his only option, right? He didn't
Pretty
really
much,
have
right?
many other options.
Yeah. And then as soon as the baby was rescued, that's when Dominic flipped back to the team and they destroyed everything, got everything, and he told Cypher, "I'm coming after you. You mess with my family."
Yeah, that's the theme. That's why this new one, I guess I just have to let it go. I just don't see how the family's not involved.
Yeah.
But I'm just surprised that they had to bring in Jason Statham with him.
Right.
That was the only part that surprised me about the spinoff. Like, because up until that they gave the name of the movie, it was always supposed to be The Rock's spinoff.
Right.
Like, I didn't hear anything of that. Any of them were being brought into the spinoff.
But then I feel like it's too single. Like you
needs
needed
somebody
one
else
more
to play
connection.
off of, right?
Yeah. Otherwise,
it's just Hobbs. And like whatever, I'm sure they could have done it, but with this thing, it makes it a little bit better because you have these two military guys, one from the UK and one from the US, and working together even though they don't like each other. The odd couple, So
the only my concern with this Hobbs and Shaw movie, is that they don't go kind of like with some of the other movies that we've seen, and obviously they can work it out, make the actions work, and we'll forget the break in reality while we're watching it. But so far from the previews, they're making Idris Elba's character seem invincible.
Right, he calls
like
himself
he's a black Superman. Yeah, so like, and even during the fights, he's like punching them and throwing them across the floor.
If you guys didn't think that this shit was gonna get ridiculous even more, I don't know if you've seen the previews for this, but I think he has some kind of magnetic shit with a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Well, they said this is even more over the top than any of the other ones. So I can't imagine how
I don't even know what to expect with this one.
Yeah.
I saw a helicopter and The Rock holding on with a hook. I don't even know. There's a haka dance with his brothers.
Yeah, that seems cool though.
I can't wait to see this, honestly.
And then the scene where they're walking down, they have to pick the doors, and then he goes, "You pick that door," and he goes, "There's a room full of bad guys on the other side, right?" And then they have to go through, and The Rock just beats the one guy, and he gets to walk through, and Jason Statham has to fight through 20 guys.
No. My favorite part of the preview of this movie is, I guess there's a elevator or there's something that they have to go down a building. And The Rock jumps down, or he has to climb down while Jason Statham takes an elevator.
Yeah.
And then you hear the music.
You hear the music, and then The Rock swings into the elevator with a bad guy, and he mouths "fuck you."
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I think this movie is going to be a great time. Again, with these Fast and Furious movies with Hobbs and Shaw, man, their characters, you can still see that they respect each other, but they don't exactly like each other too much, but they definitely have respect for each other. They have a good comedic thing with each other
Yeah, they
too,
play
which
off
is
on each
awesome,
other
which is
pretty
pretty
well.
awesome. So really quick, Alex, you're down to see this movie this week?
Yes.
Al, you?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we'll try to see if we get some tickets for this Thursday or Friday, and I'm hoping the team, Brandon and Sanj will be able to make it too. Just really quick, any thoughts of like things that you definitely want to see, or how about this? I'll ask you a quick question. Do you think there's any chance we see Dominic Toretto or any part of the team besides, Hobbs and Shaw?
I would love that. I just don't see it happening.
Right, especially
Like,
with all
I
the
would
fighting that
love
they've had, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, it would be fantastic if I was wrong,
Okay.
but I don't know.
Al, you think there's any chance we see any of the characters?
If we do, I think it'll be the after credit scene, like giving the tie-in to 9.
Okay.
So that's what I would. Yeah.
All right.
How about you? What do you think?
I honestly think, I don't know why I think this, but I think that whole argument and the drama, I think is bullshit.
You think that
I
whole
think
social
whole
media
Tyrese thing, because they did it when the movie was coming out, and that they started when I mean, look, it could be real, but I think it's a little bit of bullshit and drama just to start stuff. I think Tyrese might end up showing up in this movie.
Don't do that to me. I would be so excited to
I
watch.
do.
Like I
I
want
do.
to see Toretto. I would love to see them.
Because
wait, do you think Toretto or do you think like the secondary characters?
It should be Toretto, to be honest with you.
It
Should be
should.
Toretto that's in this movie somehow, some way. Maybe at the end showing up somewhere to save them, or maybe
That
even
would
like
be
I said, the end
amazing.
credits, right? It should be Dominic because he's the Fast and Furious, right?
So you know what sucks because
Go for it.
you saying that
I'm hyping you up now.
right, and so now if they don't show up, it's gonna like change or take my perception of the movie.
Well, hopefully the movie's good
That's like
enough.
going to see Jay-Z. Remember we saw, and like the whole time you were like, imagine Beyonce shows up. And I was like, oh, I didn't think of that. So the entire concert, I'm waiting for Beyonce.
You and every other girl that was in that concert.
Right. And it was a great concert. But now this is like the same thing. This is like a
Right.
Jay-Z concert.
Oh my God,
Is she
man.
going to show up? Is Toretto going to show up?
We'll see. So listen, guys, we're looking forward to Hobbs and Shaw. I know you guys love the prep podcast that we do. That's our top 10 podcasts. Out of all of our podcasts, I would say 90% of them are our prep.
That's awesome.
So guys, enjoy this prep. Enjoy the movie when it comes out this week. We'll be back with, again, Brandon and Sanjay for the next episode to do the review of Hobbs and Shaw. But again, thank you to my wife for showing up today and
Thanks
helping
for
us
having
out.
me.
And Al, as always, man, always great to have you. And so for myself, Hav, we just want, before we do the close off there, guys, you could always reach us at our email, therealfanreview@gmail.com. You can go to our website, therealfanreview.com. We are on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow, like, subscribe, do everything you can or want. And we'd love to hear from you guys. Any kind of suggestions or even questions, we'll love to just go over them on the podcast for you next time. So again, from Hav, Alex, and Al, we thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks.